Om Amriteshwari Nama. My humble salutations and pranams to Amma, Her Holiness Mata Amrita Nandamayi Devi, the C20 Chair 2023, and my greetings, namaskarams, a warm welcome to the Honorable Minister and Chief Guest, Shri V. Muralidharan, the Honorable MP, Shri Shashi Tharoor, and to all the distinguished civil society leaders, members of the C20 Secretariat, eminent government officials, and all eminent personalities from across the world joining us today, here and online, on this momentous occasion of the inaugural ceremony of the C20 Education and Digital Transformation Summit 2023 at Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, India. Education is the fundamental pillar. Thank you. Education is the fundamental pillar that sustains society, empowering individuals by providing knowledge, skills, and opportunities, allowing individuals to improve their socio-economic status and break the cycle of poverty. As Amma says, we not only need education for living, but also education for life. The main purpose of education is to impart a culture of the heart, a culture based on enduring values. Digital transformation has significantly improved access to education, especially in remote areas, revolutionizing collaboration and communication. It is key to promoting and preserving culture. It can help unify families, communities, and even nations for a better world. So, of course, education and digital transformation is one of the key areas of focus of the G20 C20. And this international summit is a forum to bring together grassroots CSOs, experts, practitioners to recommend best practices and foster collaboration around these issues of great societal importance. Under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Modi ji as a G20 chair and the universal guidance of Amma, Mata Amrita Nandamayi Devi as the C20 chair, this is an extraordinary opportunity given to all of us to contribute to the development of civil society for the benefit of the most in need. So actually it is apt that we are all gathered here for this forum here in India, the land of the ancient rishis, with its rich cultural heritage, ancient wisdom, and now at the forefront of adopting innovative and transformative education technologies. And Amrita Vidyapeetham, the core collaborator of this working group, is a testament to Amma's vision to build a world-class education institution imbued with values. It has grown into the topmost ranked private university in the country in a short span of 20-odd years, with 20,000 students and over 200 programs. Now, on behalf of the C20 Secretariat, the C20 Core Committee, the C20 International Advisory Committee, and the C20 Steering Committee, I would like to request the Honorable Minister, Shri Muralidharan ji and Swami Amrita Sarupananda ji to lead all the eminent members on the dais to grace the ceremony with the lighting of the lamp on behalf of all the dignitaries online and offline. Let us now invoke the divine's blessings with a prayer. I would request everybody to please stay standing for this.
वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणीं सुमधुरं सङ्कीर्तनालापिनीं श्यामाङ्गीं मधुसिक्तसूक्तिम् अमृतानन्दात्मिकामीश्वरी ॐ अमृतेश्वरी नमः ॐ अमृतेश्वरी नमः ॐ अमृतेश्वरी नमः।
Now I would like to request Dr. Prema Nirungadi to welcome all our dignitaries. Dr. Prema leads the C20 Education and Digital Transformation Working Group and has been a driving force behind the national and international outreach initiatives of this team. In addition to her C20 responsibilities, she's also the chairperson of the School of Computing at Amrita Vidyapeetham and is also a founding member of CREATE, the Center of Excellence leveraging educational technologies for societal benefit. Dr. Prema, over to you.
Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. Humble pranams to the chair of Civil 20, our guiding light and inspiration, Sadguru Shri Mata Amritanandamayi Devi. I welcome Amma's presence to the C20 Education and Digital Transformation Summit and to our hearts. When Amma accepted to be chair of Civil 20, for the first time, the Civil 20 engagement group became a yagna, a sacrifice, an offering for the good of the world. All over the world, civil society and NGOs have come together to identify and share best practices, plan action-oriented programs, build evidence-based policies for the benefit of society. All the working groups of Amrita are directly guided by Amma. We are honored to welcome our distinguished guests on the dais. We welcome each of you present here and online. Honorable Minister Shri Muralidharan has been a leading force in India's diplomacy, promoting strong global partnerships. I request Dr. Manoj, Dean of Amrita University, Bangalore campus, to greet Shri Muralidharan. Honorable Dr. Shashi Tharoor, an esteemed MP and former UN Under-Secretary General, is an advocate for social justice, inclusive governance, and the empowerment of the marginalized. A decade ago, on Amma's 60th birthday, you had launched our Amrita Right program, which provided multilingual tablet-enhanced education to children in over 100 adopted villages in 22 Indian states. Dr. Manisha Provost, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, I invite her to greet Dr. Shashi Tharoor. We welcome Swami Amrita Swarupananda Puri, Troika C20, with deep gratitude for his compassionate leadership and vision as he guides all the C20 working groups. I request Dr. Joost Monks, IAC member C20, to greet Swamiji. Dr. Luis Costa, former Minister of Education, Brazil, has made an enduring impact on Brazil's educational landscape. Thank you for traveling all the way from Brazil to be with us. I request Dr. Raghu Raman, Dean, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, to greet Dr. Costa. Sri Arumugam Parashraman is the founder, president of the Global Rainbow Foundation and actively changing the lives of individuals with disabilities. I request Dr. Ramananda Amrita Chaitanya to greet Sri Arumugam Parashraman. We express our deepest gratitude and profound appreciation to the NGOs, civil society, academia, government, and UN experts hailing from over 106 countries who have contributed their invaluable ideas, lessons, and inspired us and united us in our pursuit of advancing civil society in the realms of education and digital transformation. Okay. Together, we aspire to build a prosperous world with skilled citizens grounded in compassion and values. I wanted to mention that Sri Arumugam Parashraman was the former Minister of Education, Mauritius. We express our deep gratitude to the Honorable Chair of Civil 20, the C20 Troika, the Steering Committee, the Civil 20 Secretariat, the International Advisory Committee, and all the Civil 20 working groups. We offer the tremendous effort of the entire Civil 20 Education and Digital Transformation Working Group members from across the world as an offering to the Civil 20 Yagna under Amma's leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prema, for the very warm welcome. As you can imagine, she and her team have been working night to make this happen. Thanks for that. Our next speaker, of course, needs no introduction, and I will humbly try my very best to say a few words about Amma. Amma has personally embraced, listened to, and transformed the lives of 40 million people across the world. She's an extraordinary visionary and humanitarian who has touched almost all areas of human life. Amma's dedication to the upliftment of humankind is rooted in her vision of humanity's essential oneness, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as highlighted by India's G20 motto. Amma says, "We are not isolated like islands, but links of a common chain. Love is the string that binds us together." It is Amma's view that a truly positive transformation can be brought about in society only when people understand this truth and serve each other selflessly. In Amma's own words, if we wait for others to change, we will wait forever. we should change first, then others will follow our example. Every one of us should try to become a role model. Whether we realize it or not, someone, somewhere is always looking up to us for inspiration. Amma serves as the chairperson of the Mata Amritanandamayi Mutt, leading its vast array of humanitarian and institutional programs, and as chancellor of the Mutt's multi-campus deemed university, Amrita Vidyapeetham. As all of us know, Amma has been appointed the chair of the C20 2023 by the Government of India. Let us now see a video with some highlights of the focus of this working group, as well as a glimpse of the activities driven by the C20 chair, Mata Amritanandamayi Devi.
Ethos, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, underscores the inherent unity behind this seemingly diverse creation. It is the view that there is a common thread harmoniously binding all life. This ancient worldview is deeply ingrained in the Indian psyche. This outlook bears tremendous significance when it comes to sustainable development. Thus, it is rooted in that vision alone that the 2023 G20 and its official engagement group, the C20, are moving forward. For too long, the world has witnessed violent conflicts in the name of race, religion, and cultural and political differences. Civil society groups have to strive to rise above such divisive politics. They have to dialogue with a focus of remembering that the world indeed is one big family. The projects launched by the Mata Amritanandamayi Mutt have always been in response to the needs of the hour. For example, its environmental program, Amala Bharatam, focused on cleanliness campaigns and creating awareness of hygiene. Children were taught to carry handkerchiefs to stop spitting on the ground. It was really a decade later, during the days of the pandemic, that we saw the urgency of such programs. Amma's relief and rehabilitation projects in the wake of natural disasters have brought hope to the world, drying the tears of the affected when earthquakes, tsunamis, and other such tragedies have devastated lives. In such situations, Amma's response has always been swift, with various groups of devotees and volunteers completing reconstruction of homes in record time. Inspired by the loving help they received in their hours of need, many people who have benefited from Amma's outreach programs have gone on to volunteer to help others undergoing similar tragedies in the future. This is a proof of the power of love to bring seemingly disparate groups of people together. Amma's views on gender equality have challenged traditional and conservative concepts. She has revolutionized antiquated custom by which women have been alienated. She has paved the way for many women to learn Vedic chanting and to learn to perform religious rituals. These were things often previously reserved for men alone. Moreover, Amma has even inducted women as temple priests. In Amma's own words, in reality, God is neither male or female. But if we are forced to choose, then it makes more sense for God to be female, because He is contained in she. In Amma's view, men and women are not meant to compete with each other. Rather, they are to complement one another, like the two wings of a bird. Amma's worldview is founded in her love for all creation. It is not just about addressing gender's inequality, but about addressing all kinds of limitation and marginalization. Some people are denied the opportunity to lead a dignified life due to mental, physical, and genetic disabilities. With this in mind, Amma has devised and implemented many programs for their welfare and rehabilitation. Helping the powerless and helpless is always in the center of Amma's heart. Amma has built an empire of love. She reaches out to all sections of people across the world, embracing the underprivileged and marginalized. She has successfully implemented innumerable social upliftment programs all over the world. Amma has introduced financial assistance programs to supplement the income of impoverished people. She has started drives to provide fresh drinking water, skill training projects, programs to generate employment, started self-help groups to financially support women's groups, welfare projects for socially backward communities, education schemes, programs to preserve the culture of indigenous populations, orphanages, old age homes, care homes, hospital networks, women empowerment programs, initiatives to ensure the rights of transgender communities. The list goes on. It is Amma's view that it is not enough to give a voice to the voiceless. We also have to listen to them. We have to implement projects that will improve their quality of life. Amma's compassion for marginalized sections of society have made it possible to execute this large spectrum of welfare and aid projects. The institutions created by Amma stand as a testimony to her love, compassion, and selflessness. The Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, both its hospital in Kochi, Kerala, and in Faridabad, Haryana, provides advanced treatment to all sections of society. These hospitals are a manifestation of Amma's concern for society. The deemed university, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, is a center of learning and research, having a radical positive influence on Indian education. Its ethos is education both for life and livelihood. Amma wants each of us to shine in the light of knowledge and help each other to shine therein as well. Amma has addressed many international summits aimed at world peace. Her words enlighten these global meetings. Her love unifies diverse and scattered people across the world. She is striving to usher in a world of harmony, security, and progress. She is catalyzing a sea of change in the world, from a state of estrangement and alienation to one of binding oneness. Let there be love, peace, happiness, and harmony. May our thoughts, words, and actions contribute to the happiness and freedom of all beings. This is Amma's prayer.
What an amazing set of activities, all inspired by Amma. Amma has specially recorded a message for all of us at this summit. Let us hear her words of wisdom.
സ്വരൂപണം ആത്മസ്വരൂപങ്ങളായിരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. മാനവരാശി പലതരത്തിലുള്ള വെല്ലുവിളികൾ നേരിടുകയാണ്. ഈ അവസരത്തിൽ മനുഷ്യന് രണ്ട് കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് പ്രധാനമായി ഉണ്ടാകേണ്ടത്. തിരിച്ചറിവും തിരുത്താനുള്ള മനസ്സുമാണവ. ലോകജീവിതം നയിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവരും ഉൾക്കൊള്ളുക എന്ന പ്രപഞ്ച നിയമം അനുസരിച്ചേ മതിയാവും. മനുഷ്യനവൻ്റെ പുറന്നുള്ള നിയമം അടിച്ചേൽപ്പിക്കാൻ ശ്രമിച്ചാൽ അവസരവും അവശ്രുതിയും ഉണ്ടാകും. മനുഷ്യൻ പ്രപഞ്ചഘടനയിൽ കടന്നുകയറിൻ്റെ ഫലമാണ് ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ അനുഭവിക്കുന്നത്. അതുകൊണ്ട് പരിസ്ഥിതി മാറ്റുന്നതിനൊപ്പം മനസ്ഥിതിയും മാറ്റാൻ ശ്രമിക്കണം. ഞാൻ സ്കൂളിൽ പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ 4ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൽ പഠിക്കുമ്പം ഒരു 60 കുട്ടികളാണ് ആ ക്ലാസ്സിലുള്ളത്. അവരൊരു 25% ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് ക്ലാസ് വിടുമ്പോൾ വീട്ടിൽ പോയി ഭക്ഷണം കഴിച്ചിട്ട് വരും. ചിലപ്പോൾ ഒരു 15%, 20% കുട്ടികളോളം ഭക്ഷണം കൊണ്ടുവരും. ബാക്കി കുട്ടികളെ ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് ക്ലാസ് വിടുമ്പോൾ പൈപ്പിൽ പോയി വെള്ളവും കുടിച്ച് വൃക്ഷത്തിൽ തണലിൽ പോയിരിക്കും. ചിലപ്പോൾ അവർ രാവിലെ ഒന്നും കഴിച്ചവരല്ലായിരിക്കും. 2 വീട്ടിനപ്പുറത്തുള്ള ഒരു കൂട്ടുകാരിയുണ്ട്. അവൾ കൂടുതൽ ഭക്ഷണം കൊണ്ടുവരും. ആ കൊണ്ടുവരുന്ന ഒരു ഭാഗം ബാക്കി 3/4 ഭാഗം കളയുക ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അപ്പം ഞാൻ ആ മോളോട് പറഞ്ഞ്, കൂട്ടുകാരോട് പറഞ്ഞ്, നീ ഇത്രയും ഭക്ഷണം കളയുന്നില്ലേ, നീ ആരെങ്കിലും ഒരാളെ വിളിച്ച് കൊടുക്കും, ഞാനും കൊടുക്കാം. അവർ 2 ഞാനും മോളും ചെയ്ത്. അങ്ങനെ 2-3 ദിവസം കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ വേറെയും 2-3 പേര് അതുപോലെ ചെയ്ത്. അങ്ങനെ വ്യത്യാസം ഉണ്ടായി. ഒരു 15 ദിവസം കൊണ്ട് അങ്ങനെ ആരൊക്കെ ഭക്ഷണം കഴിക്കാതെ ഉണ്ടാവുമോ അവരെല്ലാം മറ്റുള്ളവർ വിളിച്ച് കൊടുക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങി. പിന്നെ ഭക്ഷണം കഴിക്കാത്തവർ ആ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ആരും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ല. നമ്മൾ വിചാരിച്ചാൽ നമുക്കൊരു മാറ്റം കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ സാധിക്കും നമ്മളിൽ. ശാസ്ത്ര സാങ്കേതിക രംഗത്തുള്ള കുതിച്ചുകയറ്റവും ഇൻ്റർനെറ്റിൻ്റെ ദുരുപയോഗവും അതുപോലെ വിദ്യാർത്ഥികൾ പടർന്നു പഠിക്കുന്ന ലഹരി വസ്തുക്കൾ, ഇതെല്ലാം കൂടി ഒരു സങ്കുചിതമായ പരിസ്ഥിതിയാണ് ഇന്നുള്ളത്. മനസാക്ഷിയും മൂല്യബോധം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു പുതിയ തലമുറ ഇവിടെ വളർന്നു വരുന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ട് എന്താ പല രൂപത്തിലും അക്രമങ്ങൾ പെരുകുന്നു. പുതുമ പഴമയെ ചവിട്ടി മതിക്കരുത്. രോഗം വന്ന് ചികിത്സിക്കുന്നത് നല്ലതല്ലേ, രോഗം വരാതെ സൂക്ഷിക്കുമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് കേൾക്കാറുണ്ടല്ലോ. പുതിയ കണ്ടുപിടുത്തങ്ങൾ പുതിയ പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ സൃഷ്ടിക്കും. അത്തരം പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ സമൂഹത്തിൽ നിരന്തര തലവേദനയാകുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് അതിൻ്റെ പ്രതിവിധികൾ കണ്ടെത്തണം. അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ അവർ ഈ കാട്ടിലൊക്കെ ഓരോന്നും വെച്ചാനൊക്കെ പോകും. അവർക്ക് പഠിക്കാൻ താല്പര്യമില്ല, അവർക്ക് അറിഞ്ഞും കൂടാ അതിൻ്റെ വല്ലതും. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മളെ വരുത്തിയിട്ട് ആ കാട്ടിനിടയിൽ ഓരോരോ മുറികൾ നമ്മൾ കെട്ടുമായിരുന്നു. അവരുടെ സമയത്തിനൊത്ത് എന്തെങ്കിലും മിഠായോ ഭക്ഷണമോ കൊടുത്തിട്ട് അവരെ വരുത്തി പഠിപ്പിച്ച് കൊടുക്കുമായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ നമുക്ക് 400 കുട്ടികളുള്ളൊരു ഓഫനേജ് ഉണ്ട്. അവിടത്തേക്ക് കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളെ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് അവിടെ വെച്ച് ബാക്കി പഠിപ്പിച്ച് വിട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പക്ഷേ ഇപ്പോഴും അതേപോലെ ചില ഗ്രാമത്തിൽ കാണുന്നുണ്ട്. ഒരേ മുറിയുള്ളു, പക്ഷെ 4, 5, 6, 7 4 ക്ലാസ്സിൽ പഠിക്കുന്ന കുട്ടികൾ ഒരു റൂമിലിരിക്കുക. തെക്കോട്ടും വടക്കോട്ടും കിഴക്കോട്ടും പടിഞ്ഞാട്ടും നോക്കിയിരിക്കുക. ഇവർ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സാറായിരിക്കും. അവർക്ക് ശരിക്കുള്ള വിദ്യാഭ്യാസമില്ല. ഇപ്പം 4ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഒരു പീരീഡ് പഠിപ്പിച്ചിട്ട് അടുത്ത് തിരിഞ്ഞ് ചെന്ന് 5ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഒരു പീരീഡ്, 6ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഒരു പീരീഡ്, 7ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഒരു പീരീഡ്. ഈ സാറിന് അത്ര വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം ഇല്ലതാനും. അപ്പോൾ ഇവർ വലിയ ക്ലാസ്സിലേക്ക് പോകുമ്പം ഇവർക്ക് മറ്റുള്ള കുട്ടികളുമായിട്ട് പിടിച്ചു നിൽക്കാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നില്ല. ഇവർക്ക് അത്ര കഴിവില്ല. അപ്പോൾ അവരോടൊത്തിരിക്കാൻ, അപ്പോൾ ഇവർക്ക് പഠിക്കാൻ പറ്റാതെ ഡിപ്രഷനായിട്ട് തിരിച്ചു വരികയാണ് ചെയ്തത്. അപ്പം നമ്മൾ കോളേജിൽ നിന്ന് ഇപ്പോൾ ഓൺലൈനായിട്ട് അവർ ക്ലാസ് കൊടുക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങി. അപ്പം അങ്ങനെ കുട്ടികൾക്ക് അത് ഇമ്പ്രൂവ് കാണാൻ തുടങ്ങി. ഇപ്പോൾ കൊറോണ കഴിഞ്ഞ ശേഷം കുട്ടികൾ വേറൊരു രൂപമായിട്ടാണ്. ആ കുട്ടികളാണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നില്ല. എല്ലാ രീതിയിലും സ്വഭാവം മാറ്റമുണ്ട്. അവർക്ക് മാനസികമായിട്ടുള്ള പക്ഷെ അവർക്ക് ഡിപ്രഷൻ്റെ തുടക്കമാണ്. ഈ ഫോണെ മാത്രം നോക്കി നിന്ന് പഠിക്കാൻ ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ഇല്ല, അത് തന്നെ നോക്കിയിരിക്കുന്നു. പിന്നെ ലഹരിക്ക് അടിമയായി. അപ്പോൾ സ്റ്റാർട്ടിങ്ങിൽ നമ്മൾ ഈ കൗൺസിൽ കൊടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അവർ പിന്നെ ഡിപ്രഷനിലേക്ക് മാനസിക രോഗത്തിലേക്ക് പോകത്തില്ല. അപ്പോൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇപ്പോൾ കൊടുത്താൽ നമുക്ക് ഉടനെ തന്നെ അവർ നമുക്ക് രക്ഷിക്കാൻ പറ്റും. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ജീവിതകാലം മുഴുവൻ അവർ മാനസികരോഗി ആകേണ്ടി വരും. പ്രകൃതിയുമായി ഡിസ്കണക്റ്റായി പോകുന്നു, സ്നേഹമായി ഡിസ്കണക്റ്റായി പോകുന്നു, ഈശ്വരമായി ഡിസ്കണക്റ്റായി പോകുന്നു, ജീവിതമായി ഡിസ്കണക്റ്റായി പോകുന്നു. ഈ കണക്ഷനെല്ലാം ശരിയാക്കാനുള്ള മാർഗമായ ആധ്യാത്മ മൂല്യമായി ഡിസ്കണക്റ്റ് ആകുന്നു. ജീവിക്കാനുള്ള വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം, ജീവിതത്തിലുള്ള വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം. ജീവിക്കാനുള്ള വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം എന്തെങ്കിലും പഠിക്കണം, ജോലി നോക്കണം. അങ്ങനെ ജീവിതത്തിനുള്ള വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം മനസ്സിനെ എയർ കണ്ടീഷൻ ആക്കുന്നതാണ്. മറ്റൊരു പുറത്തെ എയർ കണ്ടീഷൻ, മനസ്സിനെ എയർ കണ്ടീഷൻ ആക്കുന്ന തത്വമാണ് അത്. പണ്ടും ഇന്നും എന്നും ഭാരതമണ്ണിൻ്റെ മന്ത്രം ലോകമേ ഒരു തറവാട് എന്നുള്ള ഈ സത്യം മാതൃകാപരമായ ലോകത്തിന് കാട്ടിക്കൊടുക്കാൻ കിട്ടിയ മഹത്തായ അവസരമാണ് C20യുടെ നേതൃത്വ സ്ഥാനം. പ്രധാനമന്ത്രി ശ്രീ നരേന്ദ്രമോദിയുടെ നേതൃത്വത്തിലുള്ള സർക്കാർ ഏറ്റെടുത്ത ഈ സംരംഭം ലോക ജനതയെ മാറി ചിന്തിക്കാൻ പ്രേരിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ഒന്നാകട്ടെ. ആ പരിവർത്തനത്തിന് പുതിയൊരു ദീപനാളം നമുക്കിവിടെ തെളിയിക്കാം. അതിനുള്ള ലോകമെമ്പാടുമുള്ള എണ്ണമറ്റ പ്രകാശനാളങ്ങൾ ജാജ്വല്യമാകട്ടെ. C20 എന്ന ഈ മഹായജ്ഞത്തിൻ്റെ ശങ്കുലനാദം ലോകമെമ്പാടും സ്പന്ദിക്കട്ടെ. അടഞ്ഞ മാനവ ഹൃദയങ്ങളെ അത് മലർക്കെ തുറക്കട്ടെ. അതിൻ്റെ പ്രകാശം ലോകമെമ്പാടും മറക്കട്ടെ. കൃപ മക്കളെ അനുഗ്രഹിക്കട്ടെ.
Let us take the light of wisdom of Amma's divine words and be instruments to carry Amma's vision of the C20 forward. Our next speaker, Dr. Luis Claudio Costa, is the former Vice Minister of Education for Brazil. He is a highly regarded figure in the field of education, renowned for his outstanding academic contributions and visionary leadership. Presently, he holds 2 prestigious positions: President of the IREG Observatory and Academic Ranking and Excellence, as well as the Academic Vice Rector at IESB University in Brazil. As stated, he has previously served as the Minister of Education in the federal government of Brazil and has held the distinguished position of Rector at the Federal University of Vicosa. Dr. Costa obtained his PhD from Reading University in the United Kingdom and through his profound expertise and extensive experience, continues to make invaluable contributions to the realm of academia. Dr. Costa, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizer for the invitation to be here. It's always nice to be in India. You are teaching the world how to do good science, good education, and to talk about spirituality and love, and it's very important. I would say that this meeting, we are going to talk about digital transformation. What does it mean for the young people? Does the young people, 10 years old, 12 years old, knows what is digital transformation? Probably no, because they are already there in the digital world. However, for us, I can remember in Brazil 20, 30 years ago, if I want to help my children in the school, I need to buy a very expensive encyclopedia and to teach them how to use it. The poorest people in Brazil could not do that. In our days, the poorest people in Brazil are everywhere, and the son of Elon Musk have the same kind of information in Google, and it's free. This is a good example of digital transformation. If you are able to use it, it will help us to integrate. We are going to democratize information, and we need to do it very quickly. Because if we did have several challenges in the past, now we need to do it even quicker, because the speed of the transformation is very rapidly. When you look back, we always see that any use of technology has been made a lot of jobs be lost, but they create new ones. It always happens like that. However, in our days, the speed that the transformation technology is happening, are we going to be able to teach the children, and most important, the poorest children, how to use the skills to follow the digital transformation? That's a challenge that we need to do. And I think under India presidency, we are able to talk, as I said at the beginning, in good science, good education, but also in love. We are going to be able to talk and to discuss about education for living and education for love and education for life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Costa. Actually, I would like to mention it is amazing that we have on the dais 3 former education ministers from Brazil, from Mauritius, and of course from India. So a big round of applause, please. And thank you, gentlemen, for making the time. I would now like to invite our chief guest, Shri V. Muralidharan, Minister of State for External Affairs. Shri Muralidharan ji, of course, is the Honorable Union Minister of State for External Affairs in India. Demonstrating his expertise and dedication, he has played a crucial role in shaping India's foreign policy and representing the country in many international forums. Shri Muralidharan ji is also a member of Parliament in the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the Indian Parliament, representing the state of Maharashtra, and the government deputy chief whip. He is recognized for his commendable work in social reform and cultural preservation. He has constantly advocated for the promotion and preservation of India's traditional values and its rich cultural heritage. Additionally, he has worked tirelessly towards uplifting marginalized communities and ensuring their welfare. Muralidharan ji, sir, over to you.
Sadhguru Mata Amrita and Damai Devi, Chair of C20, my colleague in the Parliament who represents the constituency of Trivandrum in Lok Sabha, Sri Shashi Tharoor, Swami Amrita Swarupanandapuri ji, the C20 Troika member, Dr. Luis Costa, former Vice Minister of Education, Brazil, Sri Arumugam Parashuraman, former Education Minister of Mauritius and the former Director of UNESCO, Dr. Prema, other respected dignitaries who have arrived here from different countries of the world, members from the civil society organizations and friends, namaskaram to all of you. I am delighted to be here with you all at this Civil 20 Engagement Group's Education and Digital Transformation Summit today. I am happy to note that since its inauguration in January 2023, the Civil 20 Engagement Group has been organizing various Jan Bhagidari activities with vivid and active public participation in a whole of nation and whole of society approach. Today's Education and Digital Transformation Summit is one such example. Friends, speaking of India's G20 presidency, we have reached the halfway milestone in this journey. We embarked on this journey together on an energetic, positive, and promising note. And now we are moving ahead with the same momentum towards its culmination at the New Delhi Leaders Summit on 9-10 September 2023. Rooted in the theme Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that's one earth, one family, one future, that affirms the value of universal brotherhood and the dignity and interconnectedness of all forms of life. Our G20 presidency is focused on providing lasting solutions to global concerns, solutions that heal our one earth, create harmony with our one family, and give hope for one future. We have ensured that our presidency is not just limited to being another routine diplomatic exercise, but it is truly a people's G20. G20 related meetings are being organized across the length and breadth of India, which is invariably the widest geographical spread in any G20 presidency till date. So far, we have covered 41 cities and 28 states and union territories, in which more than 12,300 delegates from over 110 nationalities have attended G20 related meetings. Kerala has also been a host to several such meetings, and I was fortunate enough to be part of those two. That is the first G20 Health Working Group meeting held in this city of Thiruvananthapuram, and the second G20 Sherpa meeting in Kumarakam. During these meetings, I got a chance to witness firsthand the keen interest and enthusiasm displayed by the visiting delegates towards the rich and vibrant culture of India. This was made possible because of the government's commitment towards ensuring that unique experiences showcasing India's diversity, inclusive traditions, and cultural richness are also an integral part of the visiting delegates program. Millet-based dishes have been incorporated in the menu, and a wide range of cultural performances and excursions have been organized. For instance, the meeting in Kumarakam concluded with an event called Charchayum Aharavu, a cultural evening and dinner. Distinguished delegates, dignitaries, and the G20 delegates especially appreciated a spectacular rendition of Othiram Mohitam, which was based on the Vadakkan Pattu, a play based on the traditional ballads of Kerala, and witnessed various dance forms providing them a glimpse into the rich cultural heritage of Kerala. Friends, coming into the theme of today's summit, that is to illuminate the world and all the sentient things in it. We all know that there is no greater tool than education and digital transformation for achieving this objective. While education provides the underpinning foundation for any country's development and economic growth, digital transformation has revolutionized almost every aspect of our lives, including the way we learn and work. India is advancing rapidly in the field of digital education. The government has placed a special emphasis on reducing the digital divide and bringing benefits of technology to citizens from all walks of life. Upskilling the youth and increasing digitalization in the educational sector has also been the government's top priorities. The gravity of our commitment can be gauged from the fact that education sector has received the highest ever allocation of $13.66 billion in the Union Budget of 2023-24 of India. Having understood the needs of New India and the demographic advantage, the Government of India, under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, has brought in numerous policy initiatives in the educational sector. The National Education Policy rolled out in 2020 has revolutionized the education system and has provided a wide-ranging framework for the digitalization of education. By concentrating on digital infrastructure, blended learning, online platforms and open educational resources, and additionally on skill development and training for both students and teachers, the NEP paves the way for the creation of a holistic learning experience for students, facilitate essential skills of the tech-driven 21st century, and nurtures their entrepreneurial spirit. It's because of the initiatives like these that today our students living in the remotest corner of the country can easily gain access to quality education by several ongoing projects such as the digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing or Diksha, Swayam Prabha TV, Vidyadan, and e-Pathshala. In a way, the NEP has a broader vision of creating an Atmanirbhar Bharat through empowered, responsible citizens. The government's move to allow Indian universities to offer fully online degrees have helped hugely in widening access to higher education for college students. Growing international collaborations with regards to the courses offered online has also raised the profile of Indian institutions globally. This gigantic transformation in India's education sector has been made possible by a massive and disruptive technological transformation. And with the ever-widening base of internet users, which is expected to increase over 900 million by 2025, India's edtech sector is on the cusp of a phenomenal advancement. Friends, I would also like to appreciate here the role of various civil society organizations working in the domains of education and technological transformation, which are focused on compassion-driven approach to education, mindful skill development, and promotion of accessible education models for all. The civil society is also vital for participatory policy making and contributes to a healthy democratic process. The civil society organizations are indeed the light that contribute in the development of India's future based on equity, inclusivity, accountability, and clarity. Through their persistent efforts, multidisciplinary engagements, and multilateral collaborations. To conclude, let me say that I look forward to C20's fruitful dialogues and deliberations for developing policy recommendations in meaningful ways. Your recommendations will lend a trustworthy voice to the C20 communique. I am confident that C20, under the charismatic leadership of Mata Amritanandamayi Devi ji, shall deliver a comprehensive, action-oriented, inclusive, and decisive policy pack that shall benefit India and rest of the world. All the very best. Thank you all.
We'd like to really appreciate our Honorable Minister, Shri Muralidharanji's words. And as he spoke about this being truly a people's G20, C20, a true demonstration of Jan Bhagidari. Many thanks, sir. Our next speaker is Shri Shashi Tharoorji, the Honorable Member of Parliament. Shri Shashi Tharoorji is a former international civil servant, diplomat, bureaucrat, and a politician. He's a current politician, as well as a writer and public intellectual. He's been a member of Parliament since 2009. He has previously served as the UN's Under Secretary General. He's been the former Education Minister in India and was also the founding chairman of the All India Professionals Congress and has been the head of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information Technology and Foreign Affairs. Shashi Tharoorji is a recipient of the Sahitya Academy Award, has written numerous works of fiction and non-fiction about India and topics pertaining to its history, culture, film, politics, society, and foreign policy. Dr. Tharoor's contributions to society and his tireless pursuit of excellence serve as a testament to his unparalleled dedication and unwavering commitment to fostering a more equitable and harmonious world. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for that generous introduction. Sadhguru Mata Anandamayi Devi, the chair of this gathering, my good friend Shri V. Muralidharan, Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Dr. Luis Claudio Costa, former Vice Minister of Education, Brazil, Mr. Amugam Parashuraman, former Education Minister of Mauritius, Swami Amrita Swarupananda Puri, the very distinguished leader of Amma's ashram and mission, Srimati Prema Derungadi, who has so graciously welcomed us all today, representatives of the C20 Troika, representatives of the C20 Chair, distinguished speakers, members of the audience, friends. I hope that covers everybody. My namaskaram to all of you today. It's a pleasure to join you all for the C20 Education and Digital Transformation Summit, organized under the chairmanship of our beloved Amma, who was appointed, of course, to lead this official engagement group of the G20 during India's presidency of the prestigious international grouping. In any democratic society, civil society bodies collectively represent an integral engine of both social change and empowerment within our communities. And of course, often, as Amma has pointed out, they serve as a beacon of light, especially for the vulnerable, the marginalized, and the disenfranchised. Not only do civil society bodies act as a catalyst that actively encourage citizens to take up social causes and engage in civil activities, they are also, whether through non-governmental organizations, community groups, or advocacy networks, they are platforms through which ordinary citizens can voice their concerns, raise awareness about important issues, and actively participate in shaping public policies. This active involvement not only strengthens democracy, but also empowers individuals, fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility for society. As a former Minister for Education in the Government of India, I'm pleased to note the energetic and constructive manner in which the C20 engagement wing has channeled this commitment to empowering individuals and shaping policy in the field of education. Today's conference on education and digital transformation deals with a question that, as recent events have reminded us, has attained paramount importance in India, and this is therefore a timely moment to engage with this issue. Yes, indeed, Premaji, you reminded us that 10 years ago, Amma had taken a tablet initiative to already start initiating a process of digital transformation amongst some of those who might have been left behind from this change. But when we speak about the education landscape in India, especially over the course of the last few years, it is worth pointing out there have been several factors and forces that have fundamentally altered this sector. I think it's safe to conclude that nothing has done more to change education than the COVID pandemic, which, though hopefully has now reached a conclusion, this was a chapter that ushered in unprecedented hardship and distress in our communities and presented unique and formidable challenges in the education ecosystem across the world. For a major portion of the peak of the pandemic, between March 2020 and, say, January of last year, both teachers and students had to actively contend with disruptions to the academic calendar and the limitations on physical gatherings that were imposed by the pandemic. At the same time, in many cases, our school administrations were forced to make a leap into digital learning overnight, which is certainly not an easy feat, especially when you put yourself in the shoes of a teacher who has to command the interest and attention of a classroom and educate children in such a manner that can still compensate for the physical absence of the teacher. In other words, we often saw that otherwise excellent teachers were struggling to make the shift towards the online classrooms due to all sorts of factors: the inability to make eye contact with the students, their own difficulties with the technology, navigating the technology, and a significant change, obviously, requires time, preparation, time to recalibrate, to learn how to conduct such classrooms. And under normal circumstances, any such change would have had to be gradually phased in, but suddenly it happened overnight because the virus didn't allow us to phase it in. Now, the sudden and unplanned push towards digital classes naturally affected our students, especially those belonging to marginalized and financially vulnerable communities. Just as our societies have been confronted by historic dividers of poverty and inequality, the push towards greater digital activity also exposed a strong digital divide in many countries. While arguably, thanks to progressive governments here, an educated population, and strong civil society stakeholders, we did better than most places in Kerala, the state we are in today, there nonetheless remain barriers to digital penetration and access to technology, even here as elsewhere in India. As a result of these barriers, certain groups like marginalized communities and financially vulnerable families were disproportionately affected by the push towards digitization at the height of the pandemic. A number of reports have highlighted that the push to digital learning left a number of our students and their families in considerable distress, primarily because in these cases they either did not have the technology or the resources to ensure the necessary internet connectivity on their devices, and some poor people had no devices at all. In the process, these vulnerable segments of our society ended up becoming victims of the serious digital divide brutally exposed by the pandemic. When classes shifted online, not only were our teachers, many of whom are overworked and underpaid as they are, ill-equipped to handle such a significant change, but our experience only demonstrated that online learning in its current form is in fact exclusionary and discriminatory. It should be a matter of great shame for us that we had incidents like one tragic story in my own state of a school topper, a girl who had come first in her class throughout her schooling, had reached class 10, hailing from a Dalit family. Her father was a daily wage worker, and when the lockdown came with the pandemic, he lost his job, had no income coming in, the family couldn't even put food on the table. There was no question of acquiring a mobile device. The poor girl found herself dropping behind in her classes. Many of us raised the issue with the government, which then decided to put the online classes on a free-to-air television channel, but the family had only a broken TV which they could not afford to repair. And this girl, seeing all her classmates getting ahead of her in their studies and feeling completely left behind in the one thing she was good at, her academics, chose instead to take her own life. It was a tragic story that of course, is not necessarily typical of everyone, but that even one such episode could happen was terrible for us to internalize. And even in an elite college in Delhi, like Lady Shriram College, a mathematics student who was academically brilliant and a recipient of a government scholarship chose to take her life on the grounds that she did not have the resources to buy a laptop, which was indispensable for her studies, and the feeling that with a delayed payment of her scholarship thanks to the pandemic, she felt she would be a financial burden on her family. Now, when I take the stories of these two young girls, these two young women, they were not just bright sparks in their own right, but in many ways represented the hope for the future of our country. People from underprivileged backgrounds rising through merit, through education to the top. And their future was let down by our inability to provide sufficient safeguards against the disruption caused by online classes. As policymakers, and indeed as concerned citizens, as all of us in this room are, we can and must do better to overcome the challenges of the digital divide in all our countries, and certainly in mine, before we can seriously talk about education and digital transformation in the same breath. A recent survey of 10,000 students across 400 Indian cities found that only 17% had access to laptops. Only 4% had access to smart tablets. Another similar report highlighted stark infrastructural challenges within government schools. Only 28% of government schools had computers. Only 12% even featured an internet connection. Last mile connectivity is pretty much non-existent in many of our rural schools. So the shortcomings of online education, and especially the struggles of those who have not been able to gain proper access to it, became brutally exposed during the COVID pandemic. A study by Oxfam across 5 Indian states, which surveyed 1,158 parents and 488 teachers, showed that over 80% of the respondents felt that digital schooling had failed the children during the lockdown. This is not a uniquely Indian challenge. As the UN has pointed out, an estimated 24 million school-going children left the school system during the pandemic around the world. But it's still a serious challenge that we must be willing to confront and address head-on. In fact, today the very definition of education must include digital literacy if our children are to gain access to contemporary sources of knowledge. There is a need to digitize classrooms through the introduction of a national computer curriculum in all languages that allows children, even in primary schools, to achieve a basic understanding of computers and digital technology. This would require the government to allocate necessary funds to ensure that such computers are available and teachers are trained to use them. Without such measures, and given existing barriers and dividers of class, caste, and gender, it's likely that any push towards online education will only result in technology being one more dividing factor in a society like ours, rather than a tool for progress. In the context of your conference today, your conversations on education and digital transformation, it's worthwhile to look back on these developments, especially considering the growing interest in online education and ed tech, which has come in many ways to be seen as the future of education around the world. On the one hand, educators and policymakers cannot afford to overlook such tragic realities and inequalities in our country and in many other countries. And the numbers certainly suggest that investors are still saying this is the future. From a mere $500 million in VC investments in this space a decade ago, funding in the edtech space in India alone has seen the infusion of $16.1 billion last year in India alone in the edtech space. Estimates suggest a further infusion of $30 billion over the next 10 years. With online coaching classes and massive open online courses or MOOCs gaining in popularity, many have suggested that this is going to be the future of the classroom and indeed of education itself. But there are counter trends afoot too. Even Bill Gates has suggested that the face-to-face school experience is irreplaceable. In the Western world, in the developed world, we saw many rising seniors preferring to choose a gap year rather than go to colleges and have to experience university through screens while paying handsomely for a real education. Parents groups have pretty much unanimously concluded that online education cannot be a substitute, but only a supplement for instructor-led education. While discussing the interaction between education and technology, we as policymakers must recognize that digital learning everywhere does present opportunities, true, and we must be open-minded towards it, but at the same time, we must strike a careful balance between the allure of the digital classroom and the recognition of existing realities in India and in other societies, of barriers to access, particularly to the hardware and software required to participate in an online class, of limitations to know-how in navigating these new technologies, of the challenges of replicating a live classroom setting virtually, and so on. If we fail to do so, our education sectors will see a further rift between the privileged and the marginalized, a growing inequality that would considerably disadvantage those for whom education is the best means to an empowered life. We cannot transform education in a manner that promotes the disenfranchisement of the weakest in our society. We must, in the interests of all our countries, promote an education that empowers, not undermines, our children. It is my hope that a commitment towards finding an equitable and balanced approach towards education and technology will guide your deliberations during this conference. Technology undoubtedly can serve as a transformative catalyst in the field of education, allowing us to usher in innovative methods of instruction within the classroom, facilitating the preparation of our students to develop the necessary skills required for the jobs of the future, and allowing the distribution of knowledge and information on a scale that has never been done before. But we will only be able to successfully leverage the transformative potential of technology if we are able to take everyone along with us on that journey. As Amma reminded us in her introductory remarks, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, is the message for all of us. And that includes literally everyone on either side of the digital divide. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the results of your conference today. Jai.
Many thanks to the Honorable Member of Parliament, Shri Shashi Tharuji, for his very thought-provoking words. He talked about all the challenges in the pandemic, accessibility to education, and to make sure that we have the right balance taking us forward. Many thanks, sir. Now let me humbly invite our beloved Swami Amrita Sarupananda Puriji to come and guide us on this occasion. Swamiji is a remarkable spiritual luminary, known for his deep wisdom, unwavering devotion, and compassionate leadership. As the Vice Chairman of the Mata Amrita Nandamayi Mutt and President of Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, he has dedicated his life to the upliftment of humanity and the pursuit of spiritual enlightenment. He holds a master's in philosophy and is a renowned author and translator. As the senior-most disciple of Amma, Swamiji's responsibilities are many, but Swamiji has personally guided and made himself available to plan every single minute detail and to make sure that all of us get the most out of this summit. Swamiji, as all of us know, is a wonderful singer, has composed hundreds of bhajans, is a well-known, powerful orator, but for us, for all of you, and for me, he's like a friend, a mentor, a guide, all rolled into one. Swamiji is part of the troika of the C20. Swamiji.
प्रेमामृतानन्दमय्यै नित्यं नमो नमः। ॐ प्रेमामृतानन्दमय्यै नित्यं नमो नमः। ॐ प्रेमामृतानन्दमय्यै नित्यं नमो नमः। I humbly bow down at Amma's sacred lotus feet. My Namaskaram's love and greetings to Honorable Minister Sri Muralidharan, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Member of Parliament, Dr. Louis Costa, Sri Armughan Parashuraman, Sri Rajendra Kumar, Dr. Prema, dignitaries of the stage, respected delegates, brothers and sisters. Since I am neither a computer wizard nor a scientist or an educationalist, let me try to perceive this from a different point of view. The CBSE 10th results came out a week ago. The city of Trivandrum, Thiruvananthapuram, scored 99.1% pass. The highest in the country. So the decision to hold the C20 Education and Digital Transformation Summit in this city is only appropriate. Of course, I am not underestimating the potential of the other parts of the country. Let me begin with one of Amma's quotes. The main purpose of education should be to impart a culture of the heart. A culture of the heart. It is true that our students are passing their exams with flying colors. We are producing intelligent and talented people. We have great scientists, mathematicians, computer wizards, and so forth. However, what does our educational system do to instill a culture of the heart in our students? How many loving, compassionate, and selfless human beings did our educational system create in the last century? Recently, someone told Amma, I have surrendered everything to God. Amma smiled and replied, yes, but it remains only within the limits of your lips. The same is the case with our world view, our perception of humanity, our love for our fellow beings, so on and so forth. Our educational system needs, a total revamp. It should be restructured and transformed so that it can create more compassionate people, more lovers than haters. We need more people who look at the world with wonder, who would fall in love with the creation and unconditionally appreciate the unparalleled efficiency, effectiveness, and accuracy of the Creator. The need of the hour is to have more good-hearted people who would adore the diversity of the universe. And only right education that inculcates the right values can bring about this transformation. I came across the following recently. When I was 5 years old, my mom always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. And I told them they did not understand life. Of course, science and technology are important. It has great potential in the development process of the world and humanity as a whole. But we have to put so many question marks after that. Recently, I was in one of the North Indian cities where a family invited me to their house. The family greeted me in the traditional manner as I am a sannyasi. As the ceremonial greeting was going on, suddenly a little boy, around 5 or 6 years old, appeared there. He pushed everyone aside and pointed a play gun at me and shouted, "Hands up!" A real incident, just recent. Needless to say, the family was shocked and embarrassed. And just to try to save the their humiliation, I burst into laughter, trying to take it as a child's play. Mischief. However, they had great difficulty hiding their embarrassment. Now there is a part 2 of the drama. And here is the part 2. The part 2 took place in the living room of the family. After a short puja, the family took me to the living room. There, on the extended base of the window pane, the same boy was sitting intently looking at his iPhone. He neither paid any attention, nor was he aware of the people who had just walked into the room. Obviously, he was playing a video game. And just out of curiosity, I peeked at the screen and was taken aback to realize the boy was playing a war game. But this time, the mother snatched the phone from him, asking, "Who gave the phone to him?" And now, the most interesting part. The grandfather sheepishly replied, "I did. I just wanted to teach him to sit somewhere quietly." Does this happen in many of the houses? Even those who are sitting here in front of me? Yes, right? You're ashamed, no problem. You are embarrassed. So this is just one among millions, perhaps billions of examples of the digital transformation of education that does not serve our students. What transformation is happening here? Just to jog your memory, I am all for digital transformation. But is this the kind of transformation we want? I came to Amma in 1979, just after my bachelor's degree in economics. I lost all interest in furthering my studies as my focus was fully on spending time with Amma and dedicating my entire life to spiritual pursuits. However, Amma did not support my view. She insisted that I should continue my studies, and it was only because of her loving encouragement that I decided to join for my master's degree in philosophy, which later proved to be very helpful. Amma's ashram, Amrita ashram, has nearly 3,000 permanent residents. This includes Amma's Western children, household devotees, and their families, and their kids belonging to varying age groups grow up in the ashram. Amma encourages everyone, including the brahmacharis and brahmacharinis and children of household devotees, study as much as they can. Amma has created the right environment for the education, along with acquiring the necessary knowledge for living. In the world, Amma also instructs everyone to develop a proper insight into life. Living and life are two. The former demands a degree or educational qualification, and the latter necessitates spiritual understanding. Hence, while emphasizing the gathering of information, Amma also emphasizes nourishing our souls. Even though spiritual education, a disciplined life, and study of the scriptures are part and parcel of ashram life, the 3 years of COVID made such a huge transformation in the ashram youngsters. These children, including Western kids, are smart, intelligent, and brilliant in their studies, and most of them are straight A's or A pluses. And a few of them are state rank holders. Nonetheless, what makes them different is their selfless attitude. Their love for nature, their zest to know more about the ancient Indian scriptures, and their inquisitiveness to translate this knowledge into action. While the whole world, the multinational, smaller companies, shop owners, office goers, working class, laborers, students, and families had a difficult time going through the pandemic and its ravage. Many even going into a deep depression due to loneliness. The ashram residents, under the spiritual leadership of Amma, utilized that period for personal development and self-unfoldment. I'm not saying this from a critical point of view, just wanted to draw the contrast. We know, even to this date, many people, especially the student community, who had been sitting confined in their houses behind the closed doors of their rooms, taking online classes, find it hard to get attuned to the campus life. It is time to seriously contemplate the question, what are we doing in the name of education? Are we in the process of creating human machines instead of human beings? Maybe we don't need to take greater leaps into artificial intelligence, because in the future, human beings themselves will become effective and efficient AIs. Amma says the word culture is significant. We call in Sanskrit it is samskara, culture in English. In a medical or science lab, tissue cells, bacteria, etc. are maintained in a certain condition, a suitable atmosphere for growth. In a similar manner, dharma, spiritual values, is an inner growth. Home is the right atmosphere for this growth to take place. In fact, it should start while the baby is in the mother's womb. Our ancient rishis had the knowledge about this. The story of Prahlada, Prince Prahlada, in the Srimad Bhagavatam is a good example of this. Prahlada was born in a family of asuras, demons. We have so many around us. But he transfigured into the status of a deva, a godlike personality. How did this happen? When Prahlada was in his mother's womb, Prahlada's mother was pregnant with him. The great sage Narada imparted pieces of spiritual advice to the mother. Even though the mother dozed off, the child inside the womb received the instructions. And those teachings had an impact on the child. The baby in the womb is one with the mother. So whatever the mother does, even the atmosphere she is in will tremendously impact the baby. And that's what happened to Prahlada. That was the reason for his transformation. Now, in today's world, modern psychologists agree that impressions are formed in the womb itself. There is no place in the world better than one's own family where dharmic values and mental maturity can be attained. Anyone can feed a child, a babysitter, a servant, a caregiver, at a crush, etc. But inner growth requires an atmosphere. And it is the responsibility of the parents to create this atmosphere in the home. Scientists say that the solar system was created approximately 4.6 billion years ago. What have human beings achieved in all these years? Our parents and society taught us many things. They taught us science, mathematics, and history, all about the cruel kings and the dictators, the wars, the unfair wars we fought in the past, several languages, how to manage the outside world, etc., etc., etc. They also taught us proper manners and so forth. However, we have never been trained to be good human beings and to be at peace with ourselves. Civilization hasn't helped us to grow in love, maturity, compassion, patience, and selflessness. On the contrary, we have received immense training on how to maintain our inflated egos in all circumstances. We are taught to take the maximum and to give almost nothing in return. We were taught to lead a money-oriented and totally selfish life. And we call this development and growth. And we call this civilization. Let me conclude with Amma's words. All universities should send their students to impoverished rural villages or city slums for at least 1 to 2 months during their education. They should be able to directly see the issues and problems that the poor people face. And we have such a system in our university live-in labs. We send our students to the remote villages of India. Amma continues, education should spread light within and without, instill awareness, and strengthen the deep bond between the student and his or her nation, the world, fellow human beings, other creatures, nature, and God. Thank you so much. Om Amriteshwariyai Namaha.
Many pranam, Swamiji, for those very thought-provoking and unique words and perspective. And as Swamiji mentioned, we do have this wonderful program called Live-in Labs, which is all about sending our students to rural areas to experience education right there at the grassroots level. We have a very interesting and important launch of a program today called Amrita Kutumbakam. Around the world, there are more than 80 million people who have been forced to leave their homes to escape some form of violence. They are commonly referred to as refugees and asylum seekers. Amrita Kutumbakam is an app built by Amrita University, free and multilingual. It is an example of digital transformation for good. It connects CSOs and NGOs with the refugees and displaced people that they serve. A special word of thanks to our international collaborators who have committed to implementing this Amrita Kutumbakam app to better serve their refugee community, starting from Dr. Iñaki Alegria from Ethiopia, Almudena Barbero from Nazuri Daima, Uganda and South Sudan, and Carmen Jimeno from Palestine. I would like to invite our Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Muralidharanji, to launch the Amrita Kutumbakam app. Swamiji, I would like, Swamiji, please hand over the remote to our Chief Guest.
We should move among the suffering people and serve them. There are millions of refugees and destitute people in the world. Governments are trying to help such people in various ways, but the world needs far more people who are willing to work in a spirit of selflessness.
The global refugee crisis has reached a record high. There have never been more forcibly displaced people in human history. Refugee camps are temporary facilities built to provide immediate protection and assistance to people who have been forced to flee their homes. But the average amount of time a refugee will spend in camps is 17 years. Camp has become a misnomer. It already labels it as a second-class place, and these places should be thought of as cities. Amrita Kudumbakam app is a proposal to organize the camp space through an alternative approach, the urban approach. The right to a city will make a settlement become an economic benefit that will empower people. Amrita Kudumbakam beta version is beautifully designed for the illiterate and digitally challenged population, free of cost and available in 6 languages, including Arabic, Amharic, and Burmese. Designed to inform on how, where, and when to access 12 essential services. In its beta version, Amrita Kudumbakam app is being implemented by local civil society organizations and volunteers in refugee settlements from Palestine, South Sudan, Uganda, and Ethiopia.
We hope this wonderful initiative will spread to many, many more countries across the world. Now I would like to invite our special guest, Shri Armugam Parsuraman. Shri Armugam Parsuraman is the former Minister of Education, Arts, Culture and Science of Mauritius. He has also served as a senior advisor at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. and held the esteemed position of Director of UNESCO in Paris, Senegal and India. Dr. Parsuraman's deep faith and gratitude for life's blessings have driven him to serve humanity. He founded the Global Rainbow Foundation, focusing on helping marginalized individuals. He is also the founder-president of the University of Third Age Mauritius and the International Tirukural Foundation. Additionally, he has been an ambassador for the Rise and Shine European Union campaign and has been nominated as the regional representative for Africa at the Commonwealth of Learning Board of Governors. Over to you, sir.
My respect to Sadhguru, Sri Mata Amritamananda Mai Devi, C20 Chair, the Chief Guest, Sri V. Muralidharan, Minister of State for External Affairs, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, MP, former Under Secretary, UN, Dr. Luis Cláudio Costa, former Vice Minister of Education, Brazil, Swami Amrita Swarupananda Puri, C20 Troika, distinguished members of the civil society, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. From the bottom of my heart, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the organizers of the Education and Digital Transformation Working Group Summit for inviting me to address this distinguished assembly. I feel both honored and humbled. At the outset, I wish to commend Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Government of India for entrusting to the spiritual leader, Mata Amrita Ananda Mai Devi, the chair of Civil 20 or C20, an official engagement group of the G20. We are all aware of the great work that is being done in Amrita University with its lead role in the C20. I'm sure everyone in the country acknowledges Amma's exemplary leadership among civil society in the noble mission of service to humanity. Sri Kailas Satyarthi, Nobel Peace Laureate, has pointed out that this is the first time that C20 is driven by the core values of spirituality. He said, I quote, "This spirituality does not mean any religion. It is the driving force of the soul of universal humanity. And he continues, when you feel the suffering of others as your own suffering, with a deeper drive to alleviate the suffering, then you are compassionate, end of quote. This is precisely Amma's mission and should guide our global mission in the realization of all the SDGs. The theme chosen for the C20 Working Group Summit, Education and Digital Transformation, and its sub-themes are all very relevant. But there's one theme that is particularly close to my heart, namely education for persons with disability. The C20 Working Group policy recommendations will consider global challenges, funding implications, and measuring the translation to policy change and outcomes at the global and country level, could well provide useful inputs for a global action plan with a well-defined implementation strategy for endorsement by G20 Summit and other global funding agencies. This could also be the key to unlock potentials and dedicate and empower and leave no one behind. I therefore take this opportunity to make a special appeal for the more than 1 billion people worldwide, including an estimated 800 million in developing countries who experience some form of disability, according to the World Report on Disability by the World Bank and WHO. Persons with disabilities face stigma, discrimination, and exclusion from accessing jobs and services, and they consistently fall behind their non-disabled peers in development gains. It is not enough to describe them as differently able, and so on. The time has come to do something for them. I appeal to every one of you to think seriously about this and suggest the way forward. I commend the World Bank for its 10 commitments which build on the World Bank's group ongoing efforts to respond to the urgent need for accelerated action to achieve disability-inclusive development in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This is a unique opportunity for C20 to engage with World Bank representatives to formulate policy recommendations on the sub-theme Education for Persons with Disability. It is common knowledge that most persons with disabilities are taken care of by civil society organizations rather than governmental agencies. In this context, another statement by Kailash Satyarthi comes to mind, and I quote, "When I call you the leaders of civil society, you represent the voice of the voiceless people of the world. You represent the faces of the most invisible people of the world. You are the custodians of the collective conscience of all very ordinary people on this earth. You are the purpose of democracy," end of quote. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, being a Mauritian of Indian origin, and proudly so, I wish to conclude with a reference to Amma's statement at a recent C20 event. I quote, "From ancient times, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, has been the mantra of Indian soil. It still is today and will continue to be so in the future. The presidency of G20 nations is a unique opportunity to model this truth before the world," end of quote. Let us pray for a very successful outcome of the G20 Summit 2023 and India's stewardship. I wish C20 Education and Digital Transformation Summit all success in its deliberation during the 2 days meeting. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Parasuramanji, for those very encouraging words. Now I would like to invite Rajendra Kumarji, IAS, former Additional Secretary, West Bengal. Throughout his career, he has held several impactful portfolios, including the Principal Secretary of the Urban Development Department in the West Bengal government and the Principal Secretary to the Governor of West Bengal. Currently, Rajendra Kumarji serves as the Dean of Administration at Amrita Vidyapeetham, and in this capacity, he brings forth his wealth of administrative experience and knowledge to ensure the smooth functioning of this wonderful institution. Rajakumarji, please, I would like to invite you to give the vote of thanks.
Respected Swami Amrita Sri Muralidharanji, Minister of State, External Affairs, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, namaskaram. It's my pleasant duty to propose a vote of thanks to the dignitaries today attending the C20 Working Group Summit on Education and Digital Transformation. First, I would like to thank Dr. Prema Nedungadi, C20 National Coordinator, Education and Digital Transformation, for working tirelessly for organizing the event in Trivandrum and coordinating such an important working group of the C20. Our guest of honor, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, MP, Thiruvananthapuram, and former Under Secretary General of the UN, is a well-known author and orator. During his speech, he drew our attention to the need to make education in the digital era all-inclusive so that the underprivileged also has an equal opportunity to achieve their dreams. Thank you, Dr. Tharoor. Our chief guest, Dr. Sri V. Muralidharan, Minister of State, External Affairs, is leading the efforts of India to bring the world together for the common good. Thank you for giving us an overview of all the G20 activities in India. And thank you, sir, for launching the Amrita Kudumbagam app. I would now request Dr. Bhavani, Dean Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, to present a memento to Sri Muralidharan. Dr. Luis Claudio Costa, a leading academician and former Vice Minister of Education, Brazil, is present here, traveling all the way to be with us. A heartfelt thanks from all of us, Dr. Costa. I would request Dr. Bala, Dean, Amrita University, to present a memento to Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Our sincere thanks to Armugam Parasuraman, former Education Minister of Mauritius and former Director of UNESCO. Thank you, sir, for emphasizing on the need for giving special attention to the needs of students with disabilities in education. Swami Amritananda Puri, part of the Troika C20, and also President of the Board of Management of Amrita University. Swamiji has been leading from the front all the activities of C20 in addition to his other enormous responsibilities. During his speech, he brought out the importance of imparting the right spiritual values and the role of imparting love and compassion in education. Thank you, Swamiji. Lastly, it's my proud privilege to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of all of us to the unseen presence in the program, Sri Mata Amritanandamayi Devi, C20 Chair and Chancellor of Amrita University. Amma blessed us with a special video message today. No words can explain the influence Amma exerts on the lives of millions of people, bringing hope and joy to them. Thank you, Amma, from all of us. And lastly, thanks to all the participants on behalf of the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajendra Kumar ji. And obviously, with this, we come to the conclusion of today's inaugural function for the EDT Summit. We look forward to the next 2 days of intense discussions, policy dialogues, and hopefully culminating in impactful recommendations to the G20. So I would like to request a big round of applause to all our guests that took the time to come here. Before we leave, I would just like to request the guests if we could have a quick group photo with the people on the stage and some of the eminent deans sitting down. So I would like to request the deans of Amrita to come up to stage, and we'll have a quick group photograph before we conclude the ceremony. Raghu. Dr. Krishna Shri, please come on stage. Thank you, everybody, and I would like to request everybody to stay seated while the guests leave, as they take a short walk through the exhibition and make their way out. Thank you so much. Request your indulgence. Please remain seated. Thank you so much.